Right. So mental health, why is it still so hard to talk about, whether it's fear of judgment, cultural stigma, or just not knowing how to put feelings into words? Too many people suffer in silence, but today we're breaking that silence. Yeah. So I am here with Takori Thomas. My name is itsTeAndrea Bigsby, and this is Beneath the Surface podcast. And we will be having deep conversations, getting into, trauma, healing, and really trying to figure out why people avoid the conversation of mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And Takori, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am 25. I'm originally from Middle Georgia. Son of a single mother, 4 boys.
Okay.
So I grew up in a male-dominant household where mental health wasn't a big conversation. So I got into the space of mental health in college, really started myself first, self-development. And that work turned into what I do now in the nonprofit space around young men, their mental health, and their personal and professional development. So I've been working in that space for about 4 years now. And seen a lot, experienced a lot. Have tried to learn how not to internalize everything. Right. And also seen some of the activities and engaged learning part of how does it affect my mental health, because I've had to experience a couple of things. So,
right. Okay. Yeah. That's perfect to even have you, on the episode, because of course it correlates with what we're talking about. And I wanted to piggyback off of something you said, as far as being in a dominant household with men, and men not really getting into mental health. Why do you think that is?
Wow. Okay. Let's see. A little more context. I'm a South Georgia boy. Mm-hmm. So raised by a praying grandmother. And when I say male-dominated household, I will say this, young men. So there was not a father present. A couple uncles here and there. I met my biological grandfather, around the age of like 9 or 10. And even in that conversation, when he came around and got introduced as my mom's father, he was still going through his own issues,
right.
Whether it had been substance abuse or different things like that. So kind of had to find examples in the community to just kind of look after. But on the, introspective part around mental health is that everyone just kind of like ignored it.
Right.
Like violence, killings, issues with children. I think understanding the system as a whole, how it's affecting us in our households,
right,
was a huge thing. I think we just people just going through the emotions.
Right.
I think my biggest example of like how mental health affects men was my uncle. My uncle in the prison, he was like 19. He served like 30 years. I remember him getting out when I was like 9 or 10, and he was just off to me. I could just tell like the system had kind of like taken his mind away. Essentially, when he got back to the real world, he was going through a huge adjustment in life, like being back around his sisters, kind of getting back into the world. And that was like a real eye-opener for mental health for me, because like he had to like literally like reintegrate himself into society, and there was no resources for him. Like, it was just okay, cool.
Right.
We met him at the gate. He got back home, and his mental health had to start from there.
Right.
The development of an 18, 19-year-old man. So, seeing that, and it really like was like, okay, like this is something serious.
Right. Something to actually dive into and actually care about. And that makes a lot of sense. I can say I have my thoughts on why men don't really acknowledge mental health.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I have a few different thoughts on it. I want to say some of it is fear, because Black men especially, we have this thought, or men have this thought of not being seen as weak, or not being seen as, less than, and I think that what's actually, to me, and not to make anybody feel a way, or a man feel like a certain way of what I'm saying, but I think that it's actually more so weak to not open up, to not express, to not tap into those things that actually, actually mean a lot, like, because they make up who you are, who you're going to be in this world, who you're going to be to a woman, you know, any of those things. And, you know, we expect the man to be the provider, you know, the head of the household. But I feel like, how can you do that if you don't tap into that side? Because at the end of the day, it's harder for you to understand or grasp the concept of what your wife is going to need, what your kids are going to need, any of those things, because you have to start with you to make sure you're good in order to be good for somebody else. I also feel like black men, again, it kind of touched bases on what you said. A lot of older black men didn't have that experience, or didn't have the resources, or didn't realize the importance of mental health, because it was never a thing. Like, it was just, we go through something, we keep going, you know. And even for black women back in the day, it wasn't a thing. I'm like, I still, to this day, I have conversations with my adopted mother, and I'm teaching her things about mental health that she didn't think about before having the conversations with me. And it's just because simply that's not what they're used to. They came up in a time of survival, and more so have to just keep moving and not take a second to actually think deeper into the way that this would affect them. So yeah, I can see, you know, your mindset or mind frame on that. I do want men to be more serious about their mental health. I have seen a lot of men in my life, or just like people that I've come into contact with, that you can tell they need that healing, and they need to be taught how to connect with that. Do you have any advice or anything that you could say that would help somebody, or a man, black man, white, whatever, be able to connect and figure out how to deal with the mental health issues that they have?
Oof. Okay. So, mental health for me is a routine. It is something that I had to be proactive about and stop being reactive about.
Right.
And that's where the shift for me kind of happened. And I know when I'm being reactive to situations and worldly things that are happening. Like, I don't pop my top, you know what I'm saying, pretty often, but I know that that's a thing that will happen, because your mental health was just kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, boom, everything is kind of going on at the same time. It's just like a release, essentially. So, yeah, be proactive with a routine for your mental health. For me, and this is, again, something they don't teach you. It's like a skill.
Absolutely.
It's something that is like literally essential to the well-being of your life, that no one is going to do for you, and no one's going to come save you. No one's going to like instill into you. But I think that's where this generation is for us. Is like, we are raising our children to communicate more with us, to understand their feelings a lot more, to come and like talk to us and create like safe spaces, essentially. And all that stuff is important for your mental health. So when you ask someone like, how are you taking care of yourself, or like, how are you? My next follow-up question is like, how is your mental health? And what are you doing to stay up with your mental health, essentially? Like, you can just, as a black man, you can say, yo, like, I dap up, I like hundreds of black men a week. You know what I'm saying? So like, what's up, what's good, how you feeling, brother? And essentially like, yo, I'm good. It's like, I hear that 90% of the time. But like, the next follow-up question, if I can just get you to the side and like, yo, like, bro, how's your mental health? Like, what's going on? Essentially. You get a little more in depth in that, and okay. That's where I see kind of those guys are always sprinkling some of those conversations in, where a brother would like open up and say, man, like, I'll tell you one thing too. I had a black man last year, and I'll tell you how important it was to me. Because I came in one day feeling down. I'm talking about safe spaces, and where I kind of have God positioned me at. And I had another brother say to me, like your well-being is important to me. He was like, you good? He was like, yeah. He's like, that's important to me. And like that feeling, just like, I took that and I just kept creating that energy throughout the rest of the week. And I say that to like my brothers now. Like, I adapted into like my personal, almost library when I'm speaking to another brother. It's like, you being good is important to me, bro. You know, so my routine, I guess, what I can break down is affirmation.
Yeah.
Like black man affirmations is powerful. You said it. Like the black man is essential to the nucleus of the black family, essentially. And then that black family is going to be essential to the community
Right.
that we need to build. So affirmations, like I won't go through my whole list, but a lot of them align with who I am and who I want to be,
Right.
Who I need to be for my family.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't have children, but for my children down the line, I'm a brother, I'm a son, mentor, like all these different things. So all of that, and I would say just those moments of peace. You know what I'm saying? Like those moments of peace. But for you, what's kind of your message to black women out there?
That's a lot to say.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. Honestly, first of all, black women, we have got to acknowledge the fact that there's something going on, because a lot of women we're big on emotion and feelings and those things, but we're also, I think society has made women also too tough. So there's this fear of sharing or actually letting people know that you need help, or that you have mental issues going on, or that you've experienced trauma or whatever it may be. I think that first acknowledging that and realizing like, okay, there's something going on that I need to deal with, and actually find help and see what's going to be my best way of getting to the other side of this. Because reality of it is, there's not going to be one way for everybody to, get into their mental health or to start to heal from anything. It's going to be something different for everybody. I know I have friends that they do different things. Some people I know, they go on nature walks, they do things like that. For me, I like being out in nature, but I'm very much a girl that's like, if I go to the beach, that feels good to me, and that kind of resets me. But I like to journal, especially. That is my all-time favorite thing to do, because when I'm feeling something, I need to write it down. If I'm not going to share it with somebody, I need to at least write it down. So again, back to acknowledging what's going on. That doesn't have to be a conversation with somebody else if it's so personal that you don't want to share. Because some people, I get it, like there is a fear of sharing, because you never know what's coming after you. Once you share something, I'm so much of a sharer, and I'm like, once I put stuff out there into the world, I have to think about, especially when I make it, because I know I'm gonna make it. So when I do, I have to think about the questions that are gonna come, the negativity. I have to think about all those things, but I do what I do to help other people. So at the end of the day, I think that if we change our perspective, or women especially, even men too though, really, if we change our perspective of opening up about what mental health is, and acknowledging it, finding help, finding solutions, and getting to the root of whatever is going on, then we realize how much more someone else needed you, or needed your situation, your story, to help push them to get where they need to. It's like, I tell people all the time, my story is not for me, it's for somebody else. Unfortunately, I had to be the one to go through it all. But now I have the lessons and the things that you don't have to go through if you can hear my story, listen to me, and you could have a totally different situation. But I think that as a people, we forget that we all are different, and we're all different for a reason, but it's also that connection and that unity that we miss out on in life, with connecting with other people, to just listen. Just listen, and you never know if they need that, you don't know. But it could be an even, exchange, but you have to first, be willing to open up and do all those things. So I guess I say all that to say, I think that Black women have to start to take care of themselves and actually realize that we all are really dealing with something. And at the end of the day, It might hurt, it might be painful, because again, as us being empaths and being so much of emotions and feelings, sometimes it's hard to get there, because the reality of it is you just kind of want to brush it off and just keep rolling with life. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and one thing I think that's important about that is we try to brush things off, but it always comes back.
Yeah, the lesson will repeat itself.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And which is actually something that I wanted to get into with what lessons do you feel like life keeps throwing at you that you need to, I guess, learn so that it won't keep reappearing?
Oof.
A tough one.
That's a tough one. I think through it all, as it relates to me, it is to just stay focused on your assignment and control what you can control.
Absolutely.
Yeah, control what I can control. There's been certain environments where you just ultimately, like for some of our past, we were just placed in our upbringing, essentially, out of our control.
Right, absolutely.
Here,
yeah.
Had to go here, had to be up under this roof with this person for X amount of time. Like, it was out of our control. And I think now as an adult, there's a full level of accountability you have to take for your actions, and then to just control environments that you can control. You can't control how that another person is gonna feel. My grandma was something like, you can't change anything how a person's gonna feel, essentially. The only thing you control is yourself. So if I can control myself in certain environments, I think I'm going to continue to attract and develop the lifestyle and the people, the friends, community, the love, all that stuff that is meant for me.
Right.
But if it's not about control, I just gotta release it and then focus on what I can. And it's all, like I said, I think been working out, you know what I'm saying, in my favor for just being like keep that mindset on things. Keeps my mental health, like they say, don't let things live in your head rent free. Essentially, like, you know, I'm a guy that is like, it's out of mind, out of sight for me. You know? I'm just more so focused on, like I said, what I can control, and I stay in that lane, and I don't let anything else like try to pivot me or take me off pivot if I know if I can't control it.
And that is a lesson right there, because I struggle with that for a very long time of trying to control things. It's so crazy because everything we're talking about, I'm just like, I've just had these conversations with friends over the last couple of days, and I had a rough time with trying to, and this is a mental health thing for sure, because I feel like I've always been focused on trying to control other people and situations, whether that's worrying about them so much that I'm worrying myself, I'm stressing myself out because I want them to be better, I want them to grow, I want them to heal. And because it's so important to me that I guess I try to push it off on other people, and it's like I'm not doing it to like hurt them or make it be overwhelming or anything like that, but it's because usually I can see something in them that I know that they can't see in themselves, and it could just be at the moment they don't see it in themselves, because reality of it is usually when we're going through we can't see that, you know, we can't see the other side of things. But I also was trying to control people's thoughts or narratives about me. And
that's a big one.
And I had to realize, for me, what really got me through to realizing, like, okay, at this point, I don't care your thoughts or your feelings. I don't care, you know, and I want people to think highly of me. I want people to have these good thoughts. But reality of it is, people are going to also have negative things to say about anything. So, whether you're doing good, not doing good, it's just a part of it. But my focus was too far on that it made me lose focus of who I am and what I do and where I'm trying to get to, where I came from, because a lot of time the negative talk is of where you came from and not where you're at or where you're going. So I think that life kept throwing me all the little curveballs, all the lessons of like, all right, like, I mean, it was friendships, family, whatever, just little things that kept happening. And it's like, all right, T, you gotta, at this point, it's like the boundaries, set boundaries for one, so that you can stop worrying about what they think, how they feel, so you can focus more on you and keep moving. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna happen. It's just life, you know. But
that's good. That is good.
Yeah.
Rich. That was rich.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, it's real, and you know, when you've been through and seen so much, it's just what it is, you know.
Yeah. I had a OG told me one time, like, just plant the seed. You can't worry about where it goes after that. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't worry if you plant it here and it goes to somebody else and decides not to grow with them.
Right.
Wherever you are, if you are someone that grows people and grows yourself intentionally, if you plant that seed somewhere, just know you planted it. You can't focus if that person want to water it or not.
Right.
They take care of it, they let it die.
Right, like, absolutely.
That's not our role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's
that's so true. And that's like how we also say, in regards to like spiritual things, we always say, you know, give your worries to God. And then we sit up and we still stress about everything and trying to control again, because that's the human side of us that tries to do that. But reality of it is, in order to let God step in, or whoever you believe in, whatever, let that step in and that, you know, come into play, you have to completely, for real, give it up.
Yeah, that's right.
And you know, it's like, it sucks. A lot of times it's hard to do that because, I mean, you still want to have control. You want to make sure that it's going to work however you want it to, or people are going to move how you want them to, but it just doesn't work like that. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a good thing to talk about, you know? All right, so let's see. Have you ever struggled to open up about your mental health? And if so, what held you back?
So I'll begin with my therapy journey. I'll start there.
First of all, clap for therapy journey, because we need more men in therapy. There is, I don't know if this number is still accurate. I know when I began therapy, this number, there is less than 2% of Black men and women who are in therapy, psychotherapy, trauma therapy, etc., like across the world. So we're not represented well enough. But I would say my first experience with therapy was a Black woman. And this was different for me. I say this was different for me because the only Black woman figure I had growing up that I felt comfortable sharing was my mother, essentially. And even then, very independent. You know, like my relationship with my mother growing up, very loving, caring, nurturing, but like her, I am independent individual, very goal oriented, very focused, essentially very stoic, and don't say much, just kind of get the work done, essentially. So we connect on that level because, like, if we're going through something, we'll just sit and work together. Like I was telling a friend about this yesterday. We'll sit and work together and just listen to music. Like that's our way of just kind of like going through therapy, I guess, essentially. If we gotta say something to one another, we just say something. If not, we just sit there and work for hours. So I love that about our relationship. But to opening up, it was comforting to have a woman of color, you know, to come and like ask me about myself and not feel attacked because I was coming to therapy, not feel questioned, not feel like I didn't need to be here, essentially. And I could tell she took me on as like a nephew. Almost it felt like. I get it. So it was different. This is also during COVID, so it was telehealth. I never did. I had a chance to meet her in person, but opening up with her, the first thing she needed me to learn was about forgiveness. Forgiveness was something that I had not ever think I needed to do because I was just someone that was like, again, out of mind, out of sight. I'm gonna keep going. I didn't feel like I held on to things as much as I did, but there were some things I had to forgive myself about, essentially. The way I thought about things, the way I moved about things. Again, everyone has their own things they're working through. But I think opening up through that, seeing a Black woman, having her be someone that was open with herself, you know, it helped me to open up about, you know what I'm saying, some of my conversations. And then from that point on, she had me right.
She had me write, she had me read, she had me do a number of things. And I would say that energy I had rubbed off on some of my interactions with my other black women friends, my boys. Like, since then, God has kind of used me as a vessel to sprinkle in some of those conversations about this being open and transparent about something. It changed my behavior.
Right.
It really did. Therapy has changed my behavior and how I interact with people. And the type of conversations and intentionality it's allowed me to speak life into a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Because I do have a safe space in that, and I just encourage people to do it. I don't force it upon anyone, but I put the idea out there that in our community, just know, like, our generation, maybe our parents' generation, the first ones who were born into a free world, essentially. So, like, we're the ones who are conditioning our minds for the future generations to come. Like, what's okay, what's acceptable, what is going to be best for us as a people, essentially. Like, we're the ones who are kind of laying that out for them. What's the standard? You know, like, as a black man, what's your standard?
Right.
You know, and going through therapy has helped me go through all of that and not allow me to pivot, be taken away from my standard. It's allowed me to stand in my own purpose. So I have to thank, you know, I have to thank some experiences I've had because that led me into therapy.
Absolutely.
You know, like, be grateful for they say the hills and the valleys. So, you know, all of that has accumulated to me just being more open and honest about my mental health journey. It's allowed me and you to connect on this podcast and have a wonderful conversation today. So I'm excited to hear more about you and what made you open up about your mental health journey. Because from the jump, you've been open with me, and I want to know what kind of got you there.
So, I don't really know exactly at what point I began opening up. When I first started realizing that I had mental health issues and stuff to actually work through, it may have been back in like 2014 or something around that time. And definitely experiences, rough experiences. I feel like I used to wake up a lot of days angry and not able to even realize that I was waking up angry. You know, my kid's father was always, you know, like, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. But, like, I'm saying it with the attitude, but I'm not even realizing that every day I'm waking up like this. So I have to really figure out what's wrong. And that kind of led me into actually looking at myself more and realizing that, okay, I do need to laugh more. I need to smile more. I need to figure out why that I'm like this, though, you know, like, what's the root of the problem? And I looked over life and I realized for me, it was several things that how stuff pops back up, and I know I hadn't healed from the previous relationship I was in. And in certain ways, certain parts of me had healed, but certain ways I didn't. Again, forgiveness, I didn't forgive completely for the things that I went through in that relationship. And also, as I got older, I'm adopted. So as I got older, for some reason, it didn't hit me or kind of bother me about me being adopted and, you know, not actually ever living with my siblings and things of that nature until I got older. And so I guess it came back around during that time of where I'm learning myself anyway. So there's so many different parts to this that led me to all other things, especially like where I am now. But to piggyback off the therapy thing, therapy definitely has helped me to open up. Like I said earlier, I love to write. So the way I got through most situations was writing. No one ever knew I was writing anything, like, besides my kid's dad, and I never shared anything. I kept it to myself. And what's crazy is I love iPhones just because of the iCloud thing. I'm like, because if it wasn't for that, half of the stuff that I wrote back then, I wouldn't even have, but because it's saved, I can literally go through my notes and see where I wrote something in 2014, whatever. And it's just like, dang, when I read it, I'm like, what was I, but I know what I was going through once I actually read it. And it just takes me back to a place of, what was going on and how I got past it. I can say that I really began, I think, opening up after losing my kid's dad. I think it was like, I did the whole therapy thing, but the first try at therapy, I have to actually tell the truth that I did not like therapy at all. I feel like the situation I went through, the therapist that I had, it was during COVID as well. And it might have been like the end of COVID, because it was the end of 21. And that's after everything that had just happened, it was still fresh. And I had a black male as a therapist, and it was a telehealth as well. And every call, we only did maybe 3 sessions because I wasn't feeling it. But our conversations were so much of him, how are you feeling? Oh, okay. And I'm just explaining how I felt. So it's kind of like, for me, I'm like,
you're not active listening.
Is this a game at this point? Because now I feel like you're making me feel uncomfortable, because now you're asking me the same thing that I just explained to you. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but I feel like, yeah, exactly. Are you listening to me? Because everything I just said told you how I feel. But then I always got responses of, like, I've never dealt with anybody in your situation. Now I'm even more frightened, because even if you hadn't, you as a therapist, I need you to kind of know how to maneuver around these things, because you're going to meet people that have been through things that you've never even thought about, So I feel like that was very uncomfortable for me. So I kind of felt like I started shutting off again. I was opening up to my friends, and there's been several times where I've opened up and then I've also shut off. And I just thought about that, because what you have to be careful of is, once you start opening that up for real, you do have to make sure you are opening up in safe spaces.
Absolutely. And
with the right people, all those things, because you can open up, but everybody is not actually for you. Everybody's not looking to actually help you get past what you have going on.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm like, it's real, but I can say I did end up moving past that, whatever. I ended up getting a new therapist maybe about 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
And I love my therapist now. I'm actually a little sad though, because she's about to have to transfer me over to someone else because she's leaving. But I do enjoy therapy now. The conversations we have, how you said your therapist made you feel like you were her nephew. I feel like this is my sister. Like, the way we talk to each other is insane. You would think that this is like my best friend ever. Like, for real, it's crazy. I'm like, girl, I don't know what I'm gonna do whenever I can't talk to you anymore, But I can talk to her with no judgment, with no bias, opinion, anything. And like, even if she feels something different from what I feel, she's gonna tell me. And even if I don't agree, I'm gonna tell her, whatever. But it's that open space that's direct, and that this is confidential information. For one, you're not about to go talk to anybody else about it. And at the end of the day, you're being real with me, and you're still helping me. You're providing tools for me to be able to move past this and how to get through. And you're actually genuinely caring about how I feel, because you're not only saying, how do you feel? What are you doing to make sure and ensure that you have good mental health?
Yeah. How
are you doing that? All right. Then you're also giving me tips and ideas. Okay, maybe you should go do this. Maybe you should go this place, go there. So that's, for me, has been a big thing too, because with her, that's exactly why we have that relationship, of where it's like, girl, you know, whatever. But it's like, because you have allowed me to feel comfortable to open up. So I guess that was a long answer, huh? But I guess that all is because, you know, it took a while to open up, but that comfortability and that safe space and it being genuine is what got me there. So I think what was hard for me before I started opening up was kind of connects to earlier people's thoughts or judgment, all these things that really didn't matter.
Yep.
But it took life and other experiences for me to actually get here and be like, okay, there's nothing wrong with opening up. Especially now, I see the more open I am, the more relatable I am to other people. So, you know, we're scared to open up, but when we see other people open up like we're doing now, it pushes us to be like, okay, well, maybe I need to open up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So
I will say to your story has been a gift to people I've seen in your inner circle.
yeah,
I can see how they connect with it and appreciate it and value it.
yeah,
In the time, you know, our first time meeting was something totally different than this.
Right,
Something way
right.
different than this.
right,
But using our gifts,
yeah.
browsing the conversation, and then doing the creative writing and all that great stuff has helped, like, my mental health tremendously. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. I'm glad I could help.
Definitely.
I'm like, look, that's the goal, is to help, Let's see. Friends and partners. Family, I kind of get the, you know, the gist of why sometimes it's harder to connect with families, but we do need to eventually do that as well. But I want to focus on, I think, friends and partners, because
Yeah, it's important.
it's been a huge issue that I've seen with a lot of people that I know lately, and I think that would be good to focus in on. So, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. I'll say that to connect with my friends and partners, I've had to first, I think, initiate that this is safe. Like, I think to the point earlier we talked about of just changing through life, like our seasons. So, like, okay, during COVID, went through solitude, everybody had their own thing going on. And my thing at that point was, I think, self-development, like really a lot of reflection. It sat everybody down for a very long time. if you decide to sit down,
yeah, you know, absolutely, and yeah.
And that's when I actually first started podcasting. Was like in the house, set up a podcast with my guys in my apartment, and it was just I think for me at the time, looking back on it, it was like, and I was behind the camera, so I was, you know what I'm saying, literally just almost telling them like, yo. Now look at it like, yo, tell your story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was writing my story, listening to my story so much, I wanted to get my friends into the conversation. Like, and that was my community of people. Like, these are my solid guys, the guys I've known since, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So,
right.
Had to be comfortable with them seeing the change that I was making in myself. And then for that to brush off onto them. It wasn't forceful or anything, but like, yo, like, you know, the Takor you've known for years, like, either there's more layers there or there's just a change that's kind of been happening.
Right.
And I think naturally, like, those conversations kind of passed on by speaking life into them. And just being the one to kind of, them to bear witness to those things. And then for me to be more intentional with, like I said, some of those check-ins with them. So I think as a man, like, I've grown older to go out and catch lunch with my friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, one-on-one, or like, that time is important now because we're not seeing each other weekend no more. We're not partying all the time and stuff like that. Like, let's go sit down, 3 or 4 of us, you know, grab a drink, whatever we're doing, essentially. Just chop it up. Like, that is good for my mental health, and I think good for their mental health.
Yeah.
And, you know, just being open, like, yo, like, bro, I needed this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we needed this.
And that's real. That's real. Like, you have to, first of all, the one thing that you said that stuck out to me was them seeing the change that you're making. Because again, you also said we're not partying anymore, we're not doing this and that, and I'm like, for me, yeah, if I can link up with my friends and go out every now and then, sure.
Yeah.
But as far as the life I used to live and partied all the time, oh my God, no, no way. Like that was way. I look back like, how did I survive that actually?
Sure.
Because that was a wild time of life. Like I don't even know.
Yeah.
Who parties like that? That is insane. I don't know. But now I'm like, yeah, it's definitely, it's good to, it's always good whenever you can make those changes with people you've been in connection with for so long.
Yeah.
But it's also good when you meet new people that you can connect with that are on the same level as you, because a lot of times you have friends from back in the day who aren't ready to advance.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to end up stuck where they're at because you have higher goals and higher values, other things that you want to be doing in life. So it's important that you actually show them like, hey, this is what I'm doing. You can either hop on or I gotta let you go. You know, I love you, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's dope to be able to still get to spend time with your boys and show them another side of you that I'm sure they look up to you, you know, whether they're old or young or whatever. I feel like that once people see you make that change, it's harder for them to stay the same.
Oh.
It's harder for them to stay the same. It's harder for them to stay the same.
Oof.
And they're either gonna again hop on ship or they're going to there's a couple things they could do. They could be jealous.
Yeah.
And they could end up, you know, just messing up that relationship because they're not ready. Which again, boundaries, cutting people off, whatever, that's when you have to do that, because at the end of the day, I can't wait on you when I know where I'm going.
Yes.
You're not sure where you're going yet, and that's okay. But you can't hold me up because I have to go.
Oof.
I have to go. Like.
And in healing with partners, that was a big lesson. Very, very big lesson was just being in, like, you know, that union.
Yeah.
That's that unity that, you know, this person is the person you're spending most of your time with. They're becoming very integrated into your life, essentially. You know, like and if you're not, like, I think on that healing journey or whatever, it's something that you just will naturally outgrow someone, and that's okay. That's literally okay for you to just be communicate and to say, like, we just at two different points in our lives, and it's nothing that I'm forcing you to heal, essentially, because I need you to take that journey for yourself.
Absolutely, because if you don't, it's like, it's not going to actually even mean anything, because at the end of the day, I don't even know how to put it into words, but you have to do it for you. For you. Like, it can't be because, oh, my mom said I need to heal, so, or T and Takori said I need to heal, so I'm gonna go do this. Like, no, you have to actually want to do it for you, because it's gonna be easy to stop healing and stop working on yourself, because who wouldn't just go the other route? It's hard to heal. Those are things that, which is another thing that leads back to this whole conversation, that I think that is the reason why we avoid healing and the conversation of healing and mental health, all these things, because it's so hard to dig deep. It's so hard to have to actually feel your way through. And whether that's in a partnership, you know, whatever, relationship, friendship, whatever, family, it's hard to feel your way through. It's hard to actually go through those rough times and get to, you know, something better and, you know, breach that other side, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of you to do. And I feel like it's easier for people to just be like, whatever, you know, it's not something I got to worry about right now. But again, as we already said, it comes back up. So you can think you don't have to worry about it, but then it's going to show up some way. Because, and then I think that if a lot more people focus on actually having the conversation, then the growth and stuff like that will come, and they'll see it, and they'll actually start to realize, okay, healing isn't so bad. Like, yeah, it's gonna feel rough for a little bit, because on my journey,
tell me about it.
Woo, it's been a lot. I tell people all the time, healing is not something that happens overnight.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be constantly healing every single day of my life. It'll never be a moment where I'm completely healed. I do believe that, okay, I can get pretty close to it, but it's gonna take daily work. It's not something that I don't just like talk about healing to act like I'm this person that's just all together. I'm not. I don't think that I'm any better than anybody because I'm healing, but I do think highly of myself for taking advantage of the fact that I need to heal. I need to work on things because, again, going back to partnership, relationship, whatever, how am I going to be something or enough for them if I can't be enough for myself?
Oof.
I gotta love me more to be able to give that to anybody else. And I don't know. I have a lot to say about this stuff. I don't know.
And I want to go back to it because we talked about, people, they're going to have to change once they notice a change in you. So I guess with you, like, start your podcast, your brand has been popularized in the past couple of years. You've really opened up, I think, your world to, like, like trauma heals, like less kill. Trauma kills, less heals.
Right.
Essentially, how you feel like your relationships have changed of you kind of like embodying this? Because people have known you for years and maybe they're seeing like, I didn't know T had all this stuff going on. Maybe the people who are closest to you than those who are just kind of, in the bleachers of life, essentially. How have you kind of dealt with like this being on brand for you and this being
That's a really good question. So it kind of connects with something else we already talked about, but I think that for people, the city I'm from, I feel like I've always been this like super ambitious person. Like when I was doing photo shoots and stuff, hair campaigns and stuff back in 2014. I was doing all these things. I've always been a go-getter. Like people in my city know me as I've done everything from baking, selling swimsuits to anything you could possibly think of. I probably have tried it. And like, you hear people talking about like how there's all these, like if you're on Indeed looking for a job and then you apply for something that you don't have experience with, that's me. I'm one of them people that's like, I don't care if I haven't had experience, I can do it. Like, and I don't have another like thought that I can't. It's just like, no, like put me in. Like, I'm gonna show you I can do it. Sure. I can adapt, whatever. But I think people have always known that I had this ambitious spirit and things like that. I think that now them actually seeing me go through the roughest times of my life and turning it into something else has been inspiring for most. For some, I think that it's confusion because how can things that I went through, the most traumatic situation, how do you turn that? But again, I think that's mindset, and I think that's because they haven't gotten there. They haven't figured out how to go above the pain. And for me, I feel like I don't really have a choice but to go above the pain, because if I stay in it, I know how it feels to sit in it. Absolutely. I did that for a long time, and it wasn't doing anything positive for me. It was just, okay, I'm in it and I'm crying every day. I don't have that same ambitious spirit I've always had. I don't have that, and I know something's missing. So then that comes into play, and that causes depression and all these other thoughts that are not true about yourself, but you're thinking it. And I think for me, it was easier to maneuver into, all right, this has to be something else.
Absolutely.
And especially because I know that my stories can help many people. And crazy enough, after I went through like my fiance being killed, after I went through that, and I started seeing more and more people who had similar situations, and I'm like, I don't know how this is just popping up. And I'm seeing this stuff all the time on my timeline, whatever. I'm like, because I can feel their pain, and I get it. And especially when they left behind kids, it's like, I can only imagine what you're going through, how you're dealing with it. And I really be wanting to reach out to people. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just chill. But I really be wanting to reach out, like, how are you? Are you okay? But again, I think I hold back sometimes because I don't know if people are ready. Because I know how long it took me to be ready. But I think as far as, you know, my community and the people that have grown up around me and even strangers, like, I think that it's an uncomfortable space to be like where I am and trying to push a message that some people don't get. And I've said this time and time again, and trauma kills, let's heal is not just trauma's gonna kill you, it's about to take you out, you're gonna die. It's not that. Trauma kills, let's heal is so much more than you actually physically dying. I experienced so much trauma that it took me out in multiple areas. And that's what Trauma Kills, Let's Heal is about, because it can affect you mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, I don't care, everything. In every way, relationships, anything, your sleep pattern, it can affect so many different things, which is why I say it's super important to spread this message and to get people on board. And whether they catch on or they don't, eventually they will.
Absolutely.
Again, that goes back to people having to be comfortable with that and feeling that, and, you know, lying in that to know, like, this is really something, like, and I really do need to, you know, I guess figure out more what this message is about, because at the end of the day, yeah, I can be, you know, living in this and spreading this message, but it is still, they have to do the work.
Yes.
I'm doing the work. I've done some of the work. I'm doing the work, but I can't make people on social media or make family and friends or people I know that I grew up around. I can't make anybody support my brand fully if they're not there yet. I think that the way I deal with it is just pretty much, I always say I'm living in my purpose. So it's not really, you know, I always know that, again, my story, my situation is for somebody else. It's very much, I believe, you know, I went through everything that I did so that somebody else can hear it. Somebody else can figure out that there's a positive, there's a purpose in whatever you've been through. And it may not be the same things as me. It might not be starting a podcast. It might not be doing a clothing line. It could be that you're gonna start a daycare and bring all these kids in and love on them because you didn't have love, or anything. You know, it can be so many different things, but people have to change the perspective and the angle of what they're thinking about, and how they were affected by childhood trauma, or how they were affected by, you know, domestic violence, anything of that nature. You can always change it, but you gotta get there. I don't know. I have so much to talk about.
That was rich. Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
It's uncomfortable. I think getting to, like you said, like that being what's on brand for you, because you've done it, like the work so much inside, you take it out to the world, and some people, like, because it's, you know, mental health isn't sexy. You know?
Right, yeah.
You know.
But we need to make it that, you know, and I wish it was a way to, people market a lot of sex symbols, a lot of things of that nature. Like, let's find a way to connect the two so that more people can be interested. Like, oh, sorry, that just upset me a little bit, because it really is. It's not sexy, but it should be. I don't know. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, you're good. That was just a forethought right there.
Yeah. Okay. So before I do the call to action part, I actually do like when others open up to us, what's the best way to respond when someone tells you they're struggling?
Okay.
So let's touch bases on that. If you had a friend or someone tell you that they need help or they're not okay, because a lot of times when people say that, we give them something, but not necessarily what they need. So how would you respond to a friend or family member, spouse, whatever, saying that they're struggling and they need help, and They don't know where else to go. Deep.
Very deep, very deep. And it's a call to what they're going through, and I think it's also a testament to like the level of comfortability they have with you as a friend. You know, so I'll go through a little journey, if you don't mind. Like last year, I think in the summer of last year, like May, June, July, going through a tough time myself. But it's funny how God was revealing to me like my friends and people I've known for years. I mean, like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Like we got to connect on a whole different level last year, essentially because like, you know, we opened up about different topics: suicide, issues with fathers, mothers, adulthood, having children early on in life, how that's affecting them now. You know, like being forced to grow up and their parents not teaching them how to parent, like a whole number of things. And we got into some similar we got into some really similar and serious conversations. And I think for each one of those conversations, God just asked me to just be there to listen. Yeah. Simply asked me to be there to listen. Simply just wanted me to show empathy and sympathy with them. Figure out what were they doing. They realized a problem. What were we going to do to hold one another accountable? Accountability partners are. That's what a therapy essentially is. It's like accountability partner for me.
Absolutely.
I say I'm gonna do something for myself to better myself. Set those accountability things in place, and those are the friends that I meet up with and have lunch with. We talk through things. We bring devotional books sometimes at lunch and just go over stuff. But I wanted to figure out what could we do and how could I help one another hold each other accountable for how we're going to move past this situation. Offering some good counsel, of course. Provide some resources. I can invite them into some of the safe spaces that I may and know have, but I know sometimes that it's not for everybody.
Absolutely.
So like, maybe that's for you and what you got going on, but that may not be for them.
Right.
They have to go back to their own household. I got to understand that.
Yeah.
But me being able to control what I can't control in that situation is the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour and a half, whatever time we have on the phone. Just be intentional with them, with listening. Like whatever it is, like if we got to sit in silence.
Yeah.
Like we gotta
whatever it takes.
Like for whatever it is.
Yeah.
For us to be able to get through that together, I want you to know that like if I haven't told you this before, like our friendship means so much more deeper to me than like cracking jokes and hanging out here or grabbing drinks, like whatever you need essentially. We just need somebody to get on the phone with you and just be silent for an hour. Like I want you to know you got that back against the wall. Like I want that to be the back of your mind. Like you got somebody solid in your corner. If it's now, 6 months from now, 10 years from now, like if no one's ever told you this, like our friendship means that much more to me for you to just hit me and just talk about whatever. And I hope that you take that advice seriously enough to call me when something's going on. Right. Whatever I can do to help. I'm stand 10 toes behind you because it's not coincidence that we've been friends this long. And that's what I had to make my friends known last year. Like there's no coincidence we've been in business like 10 years. Went through ups and downs, beefs, whatever we had going on, and we still stay solid.
That's what makes makes it stronger, though. You go through things, and you know you grow together. So So
in some situations I can't relate to with them right now, but what I can do is let them know, like, if they look around the people and they say, "Man, I know I got some solid people in my quarter, so I can call whenever I need something to pull up on me." They say, "Go do whatever," and help me get through this thing. Because again, like the lesson we always learn is like, it's gonna happen in some way. Like the lesson you're trying to learn or get through is gonna happen in some way or some form. So whether it's financially support, physical, whatever they need at the time, just be able to provide that for them. Plus work on a solution to hold each other accountable. Yeah. So we're not repeating the same lesson with one another as well. So I hold that dear to my heart. And that's helped me elevate the friendships I've had this past year. Just been real serious and intentional with them. Like that our friendship is taking itself to another level because I know life is giving us a new level of responsibilities and challenges right now. So,
absolutely.
You know, the same support you might have had as me as a young man, like now as a adult male with serious responsibilities on this plate right now, I'm still here to support you and what you got going on. So I think that's helped me to feel good about that. And then again, like release that control that I can be the superhero in all my friends' lives, like all the time. Yeah. You know, some friends may need money, some friends
Yes.
The emotional support sometimes. Some friends just ain't got no friends.
Right.
And need you to come hang out with them.
Right.
So, that's been kind of helping me. So I think be at peace in those situations. And something I did last year with some friends was like create moments where we get together, like, a quarterly or a monthly event to where like, okay, cool. What you got going in life? Ain't no pressure. You ain't got to come, but like, I'm putting an invite out to like, these are events or get-togethers I would like us to go to together.
Right.
And like, if you can make it, cool. But like, put them in, group chat with like some of my guys. Like, yo, I just want to introduce y'all to like 20 of my closest friends. And we send inspirations in there. We send morning prayer calls, devotions, like any of that. So like, if it's ever a moment we need to kind of get a nugget or just hit somebody up and stuff, like introduce them to other people that may not be directly to me but connected to me.
Have their access. So even if you can't reach me, that's perfect.
Whatever message someone can speak into you, like it may not come from me, but because we're all vessels, like it can be spoken to you. And just allowing and some people don't respond ever in there. And I know that like we connect, like, yo, like who's this number in the chat? Like so and so be saying some good stuff. So all that was just an extension of like me just trying to create community around people who I feel like are aligned with my journey, and allow my other friends to kind of meet those who are connected to me, and then vice versa. So I think that's how we create safe space for those who need it.
That was an excellent answer. Like, community is huge, so I definitely loved everything you said about that. I feel like at one point I didn't know how to respond to people that needed something or that were struggling, and I think that was just because I was in the midst of my own struggles, and it was more so me not deflecting from the conversation, but not really being able to give them what they needed. And I think that I can say that now because I know going through my own stuff, I realized that some people most people couldn't give me what I needed. And that wasn't because they were doing anything wrong. It's just a lot of times it's hard to put yourself in someone's shoes of depending on the experiences they've been through and things of that nature. And sometimes, people always say, if you need anything, let me know. Or, are you okay? All right. Like if I can do anything, I'll do it.
Very true.
But really it's not, I think it's easy to say that and not really fulfill that.
It is.
Because I'm like, I'm working on that. I'm working on like being more to my friends, my loved ones, even people that aren't that to me, people I don't know. I try my best to show up because I might not always be able to show up financially. It's different things for different people. But one thing I can say is anytime somebody needs me or they're struggling mentally, emotionally, people can definitely contact me for that because I've been through so much that I can relate to your situation no matter what it is. I've always been really good at putting myself in someone else's shoes. So I might not have been through the exact same thing as you, but I can put myself in your shoes to actually sit with it and feel what it is that you may be feeling, and then take my lessons and the things I do know and the experience I have been through and actually connect them with whatever your situation is. Now I don't know, that's a gift, I guess, because everybody can't do that. And I tend to hear that from a lot of my friends is you are so good with connecting and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And I feel like I only can say I got like that just from going through so many different things. It's like if I didn't go through so many things, I probably wouldn't understand a lot of people's situations, but again, we go through other things for other people, and the beauty in life itself is being able to connect, being able to, find that common ground of, how you can help or how you can be there for somebody else. Because at the end of the day, there's so much hatred in this world, so much. But if we took a second, literally a second, to do the small thing of listening, having a conversation, any of those things, then we connect and we realize that we're all different, but we still connect in some type of way. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care. We all still connect in some type of way.
Absolutely.
So I think that community is huge. I think that, being able to, again, provide those resources or connections, like as you said, for people that say they're struggling or they need help or they need you, all those things I think are really important. Listening, and then the community has been huge for me lately. As far as my church community, friendships, all those things, especially coming from another state and moving somewhere you don't know anybody. And it's like, you got to build these connections, because I was very timid. When I first moved out here, I'm in my house. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. It's just me and my daughters. Yeah. I don't want to, I'm not going anywhere. Because it's like, I don't know, I don't know if I should trust people. I don't know how comfortable to get with people, but I feel like the longer I've been here, it'll be almost 3 years. Wow. But the longer that I've been here, the more I've opened up, I've connected with people just off of energy and the conversations I hold with them and things of that nature. Now, I've connected with people that I don't match with, but I meet strangers that need me. And the way that I know they need me, they don't have to tell me they're struggling or they need somebody. I can be in a grocery store. I can be literally anywhere. And people start conversations with me about trauma and healing, and they don't even know that that's what I do. That's who I am. And I'm just like, it's God. It's literally like, so I'm like, I can connect with strangers. So that's why I'm like, I'm doing a lot better with making sure that my friends are good, whatever. But if I can help a stranger, I can help my loved one. I can help this person. And again, like you said earlier, it's not a forceful thing. So when they're ready for that, then yeah, I'm very much here. But for me, I want to be available emotionally and mentally more than anything else. Physically, I would love to be there, but realistically, a lot of my people don't live here. Yeah. But if you can allow me to be that for you, I'm going to be the best version of that for you that I can, to make sure that you do feel love and you do feel like, it's going to get better, because I know you don't want to hear it's going to be okay, it's going to be better. I know you don't want to hear that, but again, it connects back to you actually seeing the change in somebody else and seeing how they got better. And then that reflecting off of you and kind of being a domino effect to where now it's like, all right, I can see that, know.
Yeah, because you said it right. God will use you to heal other people. Definitely will. And I think the lesson I've learned in life is like nothing lasts forever. Essentially, what we're going through seems like the worst of the worst. Yeah, and it does. Like it really feels like the stress, anxiety, the time and attention. It feels like it ain't never go get better. Yeah, and right. For some people that moment lasts longer than others. Like illnesses and things that can take you a little further. Like that changes the whole trajectory of your life. But I think the situations where dealing with people or traumatic experiences, like we know that on the other side of things, like there's gonna be something to look back on. There's gonna be a lesson. There's gonna be a test or something. And usually that storm comes before the blessing that is to be. And if you can learn something for that and take it with you, I think it works. But to your testament of, you said earlier, of always healing, like that's important, because those moments where people do reach out to you and feel like, I ain't got nobody to talk to, I think T would be the right person to come to about this. Like you being on your healing journey is so important, because that allows them to have that energy to pick up the phone and call you specifically about what's going on. Had you not been on that, not been in the mood or been into the, a state of mind where it's like, I'm shut off from the world essentially, you never know how that affects the people who are like, going through their own things, and like you could be the one to be that light to shine on them. So that's extremely important.
Absolutely, I definitely agree, because I'm like, at one point, I wasn't my best self, but I think people have always expected more of me, which is kind of like, that sucks a little bit, because it's like when I was going through extreme situations, and not that everything is completely over, but now I know how to manage things. So, but when I was going through, I think a lot of people expected me to be able to still pick up the pieces or help them through when I wasn't there. Because another thing that's important is having the mental capacity to be able to take on other people's struggles. Yeah. It's okay for people to need to reach out, but you also have to be strong enough to, in that moment, if you can't hold that, you need to say that. A lot of times I will ask my friends if I need to vent or something. I'm like, all right, before I put this off on you, how was your day? Are you good? Can I talk to you about this? Do you have the capacity for this today?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do that. And if I feel like I already know how they're feeling, I won't even say anything. I'll keep it to myself and deal with it however I need to. Then we can discuss it whenever you're better, but I'm not going to put more on you than you can take either. So I think that's important, that whenever you are reaching out to people and, you know, they do have things that they're struggling with, that you also, you know, figure out if do you need to be accessible at that time? Do they need to have that access to you? And if not, again, voice that. But also, again, that's where I kind of like where you said about community, and you have other people in this group message, this group chat, that other people can still connect and reach out. And I love that. And I really want something like that for my friends. It's just, you know, sometimes you can't connect certain things. So it's like, I don't know. I love all my friends, but you can't connect certain people and certain things just because everybody's not on the same level.
Yeah.
But having that resource right there, because that is a resource, and having that for them and someone else being able to give them that light is a blessing, because at the end of the day, you might not have the capacity to do that for them. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You hit something key right there, though, of in those moments where we have a friend, okay, that is going through stuff, and like, you know, you gotta teach. This is something I think people have to learn, but like maybe you're the one to teach them is how to process it before going outward.
Yeah.
How to go inward before going outward. Because some people, as soon as they're going through something, they get on the phone, they talking about it, whatever, essentially, and just the personal reflection hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's tough.
That's so real.
Like
yeah.
That. Like to have a friend like that to be like, man, I'm going through something today, and as soon as it happens, I'm gonna step into the car and call T real quick, tell her what's going on. And you gotta know how to discern, like, I can't take it on immediately for you. I need you to have some personal reflection time on this.
Yeah.
Understand how you're feeling, what your actions in it were before. Don't make a rash mistake or whatever it is. And then we can reflect on it together at a time where it feels like, I feel like you've healed through the situation, you understand you were doing in that.
Right.
But like, it's tough, you know. So I think men less than women. Men were like, okay, cool, like, dog, let me just chat with you real quick about what's going on. And I've had so many different instances. And I'm telling like, yo, like, just how are you feeling, bro? Like, let me help de-escalate it before you make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it could change the whole trajectory of your life, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, when you get a better headspace where you got some time alone, call me back. I'm like, yo, call me back in an hour. Call me back later on in the day, because I want to see how we've kind of gotten past the situation. But for the time being, don't do nothing crazy.
I like that though. Like, I didn't even really think about that, but that's so true, because I am a person that usually processes, like, something can happen and it can piss me off so bad. But a lot of times I try to think through stuff before I do react, because this can go really crazy, or I can actually think about it. And then usually when I do, I promise it's like God moves all through me and be like, I can say I'm going to say one thing to respond to this and that, and then it's a completely different thing. It's never what my first initial thought is on a situation. It's never that. It's always, it comes out a lot better, smoother. It comes out that more mature. It's not immature, because one thing about me, the older I get, the immaturity stuff, that it's not going to be too much of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I only allow myself enough room for immaturity. The laughing, the jokes, the fun, all right, that's cool. That you're supposed to always be happy doing all those things, but the same mistakes and repeating the same cycles and, you know, repeatedly spazzing out whenever something happens, or reacting in a way if something doesn't go my way, that's not showing growth.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, if I ever spaz out first, I always definitely have to push myself back. But thinking of it like that, like, definitely, yes, that's a great way to respond to someone, and having them like, hey, you process first and then call me back. They might not like that answer, but you're showing, they'll realize that you're showing that you care, and that you, like, take a second, breathe, and then call me back, so we can actually work through this and it be better for you than just venting and feeling so much anger and rage. Because a lot of times when we do that, we call people in those situations because we want to hear more, and it gaslights us. It's like the hit of dopamine, because it's like, oh, it's gonna make me more turned up, it's gonna excite me a little bit, it excites your body, but you end up, when you get off the phone with that person, then you feel like, oh, you know, it was fun, exciting to get that out, but then the day it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah.
So you're still in the same boat. You know how you didn't accomplish anything. Yeah. Call of action today. Call to action. It's going to be for our listeners to think and actually, you know, look over your life and make sure that you are focused on your mental health and realizing that this is really important. And, you know, you have to work on that in order to reach that next level of success, and meaning success for your journey in life. It doesn't have to be financially, but really taking the time to think about what's happening around you in your life, and seeing what you can do to better yourself. Just figuring out, you know, what works for you, and just staying focused and living in the present of what's going to help you make sure that your mental health is your priority and not secondary. It has to be a priority in order for you to succeed in all the things that you would like to succeed in.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Thank you. But I definitely want to say thank you for coming to my first episode. Oh my God. I enjoy having you, and looking forward to having you again.
Always.
And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. It's good.
Thank you.